Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become the confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very pleased to have with me Carrie Bradley. So let me tell you about Carrie. Carrie is an author, national speaker, and international mindset strategy coach who focuses her work on empowering women with money. That's a good thing, right? After starting her investing career at age 17, she took her financial education and grew her net worth to over $700,000. So, through the stock market, venture capitalisms, and real estate. As a single mother of two boys, she now centers her work on fighting financial inequality by giving women actionable resources to better their money situation, and has helped hundreds of women negotiate their salaries, pay off debt, build savings, and grow their wealth and legacies. She runs the Clearly Connected podcast and developed a course for mastering emotional and social intelligence, training both corporate and school systems in supporting such a good thing. I didn't realize you did that. Supporting the schools to be able to connect relationships and thriving work environments. Carrie has been studying finance and psychology for many decades, and Carrie has offers a link between mind and body, teaching women how to take control of their money so they can play a powerful role in enhancing their impact on the world. So we're going to talk about how desire leads to freedom and joy. Please join me in welcoming Carrie Bradley.
Thank you so much, Vicki, for having me here. It's such a pleasure and an honor to have this conversation today with you.
Yeah, I don't know how I skipped over the, as I was briefing myself, the stuff you do with the schools, but it's funny, yesterday I just came from one of the middle schools that I work with, and they have a teacher there that does, since I've been working with him since 2011, and he does financial literacy for the kids. He started out just teaching computer, and that led to understanding how to write a resume and Shark Tanks and all these wonderful things that kids really need to understand, and gives them, I think, a certain edge at 8th grade. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's great. I think our kids need more from us. So, and emotional intelligence is one thing that I think will empower them to thrive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one of
for
my
sure. Yeah. So we start out with two easy questions before we get into our theme. The first is just tell everybody, what part of the country do you call home?
Yeah, so I am currently situated in Cincinnati, Ohio, smack dab in the Midwest. And yeah, it's been very cold here, but we're in like an upswing, which has been really wonderful.
Until February, March come. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, so I know Ohio.
Yes.
So we talked about, a little bit about your journey and the amazing things that you did as a young person, having really that courage to strike out and do things that your other friends probably weren't even thinking about at the time. But share a little bit about this journey that you had, and how it influenced what you do today, and some of the maybe challenges that you had along the way that you had to overcome, but did.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, I've been in and out of finance and psychology for decades now, and it's always been a passion of mine. And so I grew up in a fairly traditional household, and that meant that I got married fairly young. I was around 24, and so that launched me into this season where I thought I was going to be exploring a lot of adventure, but then I unexpectedly got pregnant. I think I was around the age of 26, and was hoping to travel the world and do all these things, and that took place. So then my husband at the time and I decided to kind of settle down and put our roots here in Cincinnati and to grow our family. And so that's what we did for the next a decade. And so now my kids are what, 15 and 11. They're two boys. And so spent all this time as a stay-at-home mom. And I put my career on hold and just to really support my family. And my husband had a business idea that I was very connected to, and I supported him in his success. And so that then leads us into approaching midlife. And so then we come into 2020. That was the catalyzing year for so many people. And that's where my husband at the time and I realized like we weren't as aligned in our goals and our mission as we once were. And that started this separation and then divorce. And it was a very challenging time for me because I was excited to now be pursuing what I truly wanted and prioritizing myself more and my career ambitions. But also, I was leaving this role as a stay-at-home mom that I had done for over a
Ever.
decade. Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't have work experience and I had just launched my business. So it was just getting off the ground and I didn't have much financial security, even though I had a lot of financial literacy. My husband was the provider. And so I had to go on this journey of really facing my own insecurities and learning new skills and building out my business. And what I tell people now is the main thing that helped me to get to the success that I'm at now was through so much of this mindset work that I now do with my clients. It was really making the shift from these thoughts and these beliefs around I'm not enough or anxiety about what am I going to do? How is this all going to work out? To really anchoring into trusting myself, to trusting my decisions and trusting that there's going to be enough for me. It's going to work out. And lo and behold, as I integrated that work into myself, I had so many massive changes happen where, last year I had my first six-figure year in business. I was able to pay off two properties within 4 months of each other. And that allowed me to hit what I call your financial freedom number, which essentially is when you have the option to work. You don't have to work anymore, but I obviously will. And so I hit that number on my 42nd birthday. And that's really the financial journey that I've been on. And it was pretty radical. But as I look back, I tell people so much of that was due to the mindset work and really building into my own sense of confidence that led to the actions that now have turned into the outcomes of my life. And so that's
Mhm.
what I spend my time doing now is teaching other women how to have that level of freedom for themselves.
So you, in your bio, we said that you do real estate as well. So how much of that boost of your confidence came from selling real estate as opposed to teaching and coaching?
Yeah, so I actually got into real estate. It was around 2018, and more so as an investor. I'm not a real estate agent. So I learned, I discovered that this is how most people are building wealth is through real estate. And I had a friend who was very successful, so she became my mentor. And so I started that with my husband, although I was the one leading it and bought a couple properties. And that's how I started to generate passive income. So at this point, I use that passive income. It offsets all of my expenses, which has allowed me
Yeah.
to essentially work is optional now. Um, and so, yeah, I love talking about real estate. I've learned so much about it. I'm always looking for my next deal to expand my portfolio, but I find it to be such a rewarding investment vehicle, if people are, ready and interested to learn about it.
And I think that the fact that you didn't have a college degree, that was a great stepping stone to it because, as you said, you can find a mentor. I've interviewed so many of them that really can help you understand how to invest in properties to make sure that you can get that passive income.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I was just talking to one of my other mentors yesterday about this and how I think, finding people who are successful in whatever area
Mm,
of life and asking them. That's all I did is I asked this woman, would you be willing to mentor me? And she said yes. And it has grown my skills, my abilities, my confidence so much. And to
mm,
be able to figure that out, is so empowering, especially as a woman where finance and real estate traditionally have been more male dominated. So
yeah.
so to kind of show up in that world and to feel like I know how to work this system. And actually last Saturday I took my kids to look at a property to show them how I analyze deals and what I look for. And so it's
Awesome.
fun to kind of get them into it too as their mom. But yeah, I love teaching women about this if they're open to exploring, learning.
Yeah. So probably a year ago, I interviewed a dad who does with the real estate investing and things. And then about 5 months later, I interviewed his 13-year-old son who made his first 100,000.
Wow. Gosh, yeah, it's incredible. I've come across parents like that. They're getting their kids in at 5 and 6 to teach them about investing and really,
Hmm.
I mean, I feel so thankful to my dad who taught me at the age of 17 what a Roth IRA is. And he really encouraged me to do that. And that's what helped me. I'm so thankful for
Hmm.
that literacy because so many people don't have access to it, especially
Right,
women.
right. So you touched on this, but really, what does what does freedom mean to you? Not even just financial, but what does that really mean to you?
Yeah, freedom is my highest value. It always has been. And to me, it means having the ability to choose and to have agency over your life, to know that I'm not controlled by anyone. I am the one driving my own ship. And so there are obviously practical ways that we can attain freedom through setting up your finances a certain way or through learning skills to relate to people in really connecting ways that affords like a type of relational freedom. But I think more than anything, it's your perception of what you're capable of. So I think, some people are kind of stuck in what I would call a victim mentality and feeling like, oh, this person is doing this to me, or I'm going to blame somebody else for what's happening in my life. When really we have the ability to choose our reality, our life, everything that we are experiencing is connected to our sense of choice. And so I love helping people to realize you have more agency than you probably think that you do. And so let's talk about how you can start to kind of take the reins of, largely around what you can control, your thoughts, your emotions,
Mm.
your actions. And so that to me is like the biggest sense of freedom that I just want every person to experience because it's so rewarding.
So that really segues into my next question was how do you help your clients find that financial freedom a lot faster than they think they can or would?
Yeah, great question. So, there's obviously some practical things that we do in analyzing their budget. One thing that I love to help people to assess is are your expenses really aligned with your values and your priorities? Because how many of us sometimes will have these subscriptions and things that are just happening, and we haven't really stopped to ask, does this matter to me? Is it adding value to my life? And so to bring awareness to what are you spending it on and to start to align that to who you are. Um, but then again, like the speeding things up process largely happens in the mindset to helping people to really see what is possible for you. So maybe that looks like I'm talking to a woman and she doesn't see that maybe she's not asking for enough in her salary, right? Because she's not seeing herself as providing the value that she is, which is a very common thing. A lot of women undervalue their
Hmm.
time and their effort. And so to maybe start to think about, well, let's talk about what is the value? What is the going rate out there? Are you earning enough? And then if not, let's have a conversation and then talk about how you can approach your employer with confidence around that, right? So, but it starts with them seeing their own value and working through these sort of mental blocks and the limitations that they put them in. And so that's just one example, but there you can take this in so many areas of like what's possible for my income or what's possible for the debt that I have. How fast can I get rid of that? And when we get in and do this inner work, that's where you move past these fears and these limitations and it really creates such exponential growth. And that's what I experienced in my life as well. It's like I never would have thought I'd hit financial freedom at 42, given my situation and not that long ago leaving this role as a stay-at-home mom, but it was remarkable. And I
Hmm.
connected again back to dealing with those fears and those insecurities and limitations is what opened it up to so much more.
Yeah. So we talk about desire leads to freedom and joy. What is your pleasure-based wealth process?
Yeah. Gosh, I love these words, desire and pleasure. They're a little bit provocative, and they can be interpreted in all kinds of ways. I think of desire not so much as, oh, let's just, these cravings, hedonistic things, although I think it's fine to pursue enjoyable things for you, but it's more about, connecting to yourself
Mm.
through those impulses that you have or those ideas, maybe the dreams that you had, or maybe you had them as a kid, but you forgot them. So, kind of like bringing those back to the surface
Mm.
to remember who you are and to live into that sort of authentic version of yourself. That's the way that I see desire. And the pleasure piece, that too is kind of it's challenging this idea that we have to sacrifice in order
Mm.
to whatever, get to success or get to financial freedom. I don't really believe that. I don't believe in that we have to hustle. Sure, discipline is a wonderful thing to cultivate, but that actually maybe I would frame it as a more feminine approach to finance where it's about learning to receive and learning to open and trust and to sort of lean
Mm.
back and let it in,
Mm.
and so there is a balance of, action and resting, but thinking about it through this lens of what feels good to me and following what feels good or following desire is what ultimately leads to your highest success, and that you don't have to compromise yourself in the process or sacrifice yourself. So really
Mm.
it is more of a mindset shift around that, but that's the approach that I take, to frame it in this more attractive way to like actualize the things that you want in your life versus having to slog through and to put all the time in and the effort. So that's
Mm.
kind of where I come from.
And I think if you think of that um, in terms of what lights you up the most, then you kind of be able to find out. So, what lights you most up about what you do?
Oh gosh. It really, I think, just comes down to the freedom piece. I lately I've been thinking about how rewarding it is to work with my clients to literally watch them go from a lower quality of life or feeling fearful or stuck and frustrated to experiencing more pleasure or more freedom through that growth process. So it really is, whether it's talking about freedom, giving people permission to go after what they want,
Yeah.
or to listen to themselves versus what
Mm-hmm.
everybody else expects of them. Like all of that culminates in what I think is my deepest passion, is like helping people to like setting them free from themselves or from other people, because that really is where I think you experience your highest level of pleasure or bliss, if you want to call it that, or joy. So I hope that answered your question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. Uh, And, we have especially since the pandemic, there's, a borderless world that we have. And so it's easy now with this wonderful environment that we have for us to really start to impact the world and touch people miles and miles away from us. So how do you see the work that you do impacting global change? Because from different worlds, different economies, what might seem affordable to us in other countries might be their food, their rent, and things like that. So talk to us about how you see your work can impact this global change and understanding.
Yes, this is one of my favorite like ponderings and things to talk about, because when I think about like women in finance, for example, historically women haven't had access to the resources that men have, or to the literacy and the knowledge that men have, and that's now rapidly changing. And so I think about, if more women had money, it would balance out the power structures in our society, and the impact would be so far reaching. So think about almost every woman that I meet, they want to do good things with their resources. They want collaboration. They want to support their children. They want to help people. So I just truly believe that if women know what to do, they have that empowerment around the financial piece, it's going to change the patriarchal system that we live in, and women are going to rise up. And not that men are going to rise down, but they're going to learn from women, right? They're going to be more open to them. So I see that. And then another part of my work that I do with people, with men, is around emotional intelligence and teaching them about their emotional world. And like historically, they haven't had permission to feel anything other than anger. And so to broaden their awareness around their emotions and teaching them how to relate with intimacy, again, I think is going to help create harmony in relationships, to create understanding and unity. And so I know that I'm only in this sort of one-to-one coaching model. I'm doing this one person at a time. But I think it was Mother Teresa said something to the effect of, we can do no great things, only small things with great love. And it's like those little things eventually cast out a ripple to all
Yeah.
of the people. So I'm taking this angle of both men and women, and believing that their potential in these areas can be expanded upon. And when they do, there's going to be more unity and peace in a far-reaching aspect. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the way that I see um, the bigger picture of what I
Yeah.
do.
So time has flown by, and loved everything that you shared today. I'm sure that the audience would love to know more and connect with you. So, as always, I have a slide that I share with the audience that has your contact information. And so, if you're just listening, you should have been taking notes all along, but go grab a paper, pencil, pen, whatever, to be able to get this information. It will be available on my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. So if you haven't done so, please do subscribe, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com website. So that website is Carrie Bradley. carriebradley.com. That's CARRIE, Bradley, BRADLEY.com. And Facebook is Carrie.Doan, DOAN. Instagram is Carrie at Carrie Bradley Coaching. Again, that's at Carrie Bradley Coaching. Podcast is carriebradley.com/podcast. I'm going to turn it over to Carrie. She'll talk to you about things you can find on her website, resources, links that might help you, and what she puts out there on Facebook, Instagram, and her podcast, and some information about her book. So, Carrie, it's all yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very active on Instagram and Facebook as well daily, sharing content and inspiration and tips and ideas about money and freedom. So if you want to tap into some of that, you can find me on both of those platforms. On my website, you can also find different ways that I work with my clients, my programs, my offerings. I do have a free pleasure-based wealth masterclass that you can grab for yourself and learn some of the mindset tools that I support my clients with. And also last month in December, I launched my first book, which is called Dare to Desire. That also can be found on my website or on Amazon. And this has been such a gosh, inspirational project for me. It's been in process for a couple of years, and it's called Dare to Desire, A Woman's Journey from Fear to Freedom. And it's a little bit unique in that I kind of broke the rules with book writing, and I blended both fiction and self-help all in one. So it follows the journey of a character, a woman named Kelly, and what it was like for her to start to think bigger about her life, to ask these questions. Well, what do I desire? She was in very many caregiving roles and not really thinking of herself. And so it takes along her journey of asking that question and how her life transformed as a result of listening to those desires. So as you go along through each chapter, there's also a little section of self-help that corresponds to what she's experiencing. So maybe that's around self-care, maybe it's around boundaries, or, using your voice. And so that helps to kind of illustrate and give the reader practical things that they can do in their life. So there's both inspiration and then the application process. And so that's what it's about. It's really a tool to help people to think bigger about their lives. And so, yeah, you can find that on both of those places. And I would love for you all to check it out.
Awesome. So, Carrie, thank you so much for being such an awesome guest and gave us a lot to think about and reflect on, and hopefully inspired us to maybe connect with you to find out how you might help in our goal to find freedom and joy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been such a pleasure to connect with you and your audience and share my insights about freedom.
Thank you. And as always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.